Hey everybody, welcome back to the XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host Jesse Showalter, and this is day 9, the final day of this XD Daily Creative Challenge. Really excited to be here. I see some people in the chat already. If you're not there, you should get there. Go over to Behance and join us in the live chat. I see Kathleen talking about slow clapping for me. I appreciate that. It's amazing. Kara and Eric and Jack and Melville. Lindsay Palmer's in the chat, and so is Oriole Grant and Julia Clayton. My homegirl Julia is back inside the chat. So really excited to be here for our final day. We've done so much. We've come so far in the XD Daily Creative Challenge. Tell me in the chat if you've been here for at least more than one of the days. What has been your favorite one of these challenges? Was it the workout tracker? Was it the challenging the friends? Was it the yoga with the component states? Which one did you love? Was it the shoe e-commerce app? We've done so much. Ryan Chase is back. Abdullah is here. Diego, I've seen that name a few times. Really excited. Thank you, everybody who's been here the entire time. It's been really fun to kind of focus on all these challenges that revolve around health and wellness and exercise and the new year and resolutions. So really excited to finish up today. In doing that, if you haven't been here, let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing. This is the XD Daily Creative Challenge. It's a 4-part kind of thing. And what that means is each day you're going to receive a challenge. We've received 8 of these so far. And today, this one has unlocked. We're going to be focusing on developer handoff, and we're going to be building a little marathon training app. So that's going to be really fun. So you follow along, you can download the starting file that we use, and then you can join not only the live chat, but the community chat as well. That's in Discord, and there's going to be a link probably posted up above somewhere in the info tab. The XD server or Discord has over 30,000 creatives where you can share your work. Here's some amazing work from our yesterday's fitness kind of like onboarding flow. Super nice work by that was posted up there by the XD channel. But then we all look at all this amazing work that's in here. You can not only post it here, but you can post it into the onto Behance after you've followed along with the live stream today. Post up to Behance. Make sure you use that hashtag XD Daily Challenge, because then when you search on Behance, you can find it all here. It's a beautiful thing. So, hey, everybody's still jumping in. Eric and Tim and Richard, just lots of people in the chat. So tell me which one was your favorite, and tell me who's done exercise this week. If you have, let me know what you did and how you felt. It is still just barely hanging on to January of the new year. So it's okay if you want to make resolutions now. So that's what the XD Daily Challenge is. We're going to kick over to Adobe XD. If you don't have XD, you can download it. There's a little link above the chat here to get XD and get started with it. And here's our challenge. Like I said, last day, our challenge is about creating a marathon training app. We're going to do the main kind of map screen where people might start and stop their exercise from there. And we want to focus on bringing all the skills that we've learned together from the previous challenges, and we want to prepare for development handoff. So not only am I going to be talking about how you can prepare handoff in XD, but probably sharing some tips and tricks from a person who does not only design but front-end development and has worked with engineers and developers in teams. Would love to talk about some tips there. So we got some inspiration down here, and we have a starting artboard. And your artboard or your starting file might not have these resources, but I got to go quick today because I got limited time. So we're going to dive right in and let's get designing. Let's do this thing. How's everyone doing in the chat? We feeling good? All right. Everyone's just feeling, it seems like everyone's pretty good. Melvis has walked 3 miles with the Westie. I don't know what that is, but maybe that is, I don't know. Okay. Julie says still working on day 7 and 8, but liking yesterday so far. All right. Loving the love for the challenges, right? Thanks for the love. Okay. So we're going to do, I think, a dark interface today. Let's do that. So let's just start off by grabbing our artboard, and let's name our artboard Marathon Map. And we're going to be pretty heavy on naming our layers today. Just pro tip, because that's part of developer handoff, especially when you use a tool like XD and the development, like the dev space where people can log in and check out all the assets. Named layers are pretty huge, right? Having just, who's in the name layers club? Who's in the clean plate club? Name your layers club. I know I want to be. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So we're going to take our artboard, and we have this desaturated map over here. So let's just choose a dark color from there. It's like an almost black. It's kind of what it is. And then I tell you what we're going to do. We have this massive map. Let's just move it onto our artboard. And why don't we do this? It is a map that I just grabbed somewhere, like online, and then I masked inside of a shape. But let's double click on, or maybe I didn't mask it inside of a shape, but we should mask it inside of a shape. So let's take our rectangle tool and we'll just draw this out like so. Let's take the border off. Let's bring our map in, bring our shape above. Just get the whole thing moved together, grabbing both of the elements, Command or Control Shift M to mask with that shape. This still gives us the ability to grab our map and move it around inside. So that's looking pretty good. Let's do that, okay? So we're gonna go back and, ooh, not all the way back. We zoomed out way too far. We're gonna grab our mask group and we'll just call this map, okay? That's gonna be nice for our developers as well. Then what we're gonna wanna do is, I think we just want some general kind of fading, because this is kind of hard. We have these controls we already set up here, this top nav, and we want to move that in, but it's hard to see. So let's do ourselves a favor. Let's take another rectangle and let's move it up like so. Let's draw it into space, and that fills the space there. We're going to open up the fill and let's choose a linear gradient, and let's choose one side of our gradient and choose our black color, and let's choose the other side of the gradient. And it's important that you choose, if you're going to do a gradient from something to nothing, basically transparency, it's a habit of mine to always pick the same colors and then just move the transparency down. That way I have zero issues with there maybe being any sort of color that's visible. So there we go. We got kind of a faded top. Let's duplicate that and let's just flip it upside down. And let's drop it right there at the bottom. So now we're getting a fading from the top and the bottom. Doesn't that look smooth? Okay. So we just grab both of these and we can just group them together. And let's just call these gradients. And honestly, at this point, I'm not going to really be touching the background too much, I don't think. So, except maybe this gradient at the top's a little too much. So let's bring that down. Let's mess with our gradient and just bring it up like so, maybe a little bit more intense on the top gradient. But now we have both of them. Let's grab both of them and Command G or Control G to group them together. And we're just going to call this background. Okay, our developers are going to be able to go into each of these layers once we go into our dev space or our inspect mode kind of thing. But for now, I think this works good. So I'm going to press Command and Control L to lock it, and now I can work on top of it without worrying. So let's drag our control in. It's just an avatar and an icon. And let's grab our icon and just fill it with white so that kind of stands out. Now you can see we have the top nav. That's been saved. It's been named. And if I open up my layers, those are named as well. Avatar and close. It's going to be really, really good. Now, let's do some stuff today. Okay, let's grab some text. And I like rubato, but I think what would be kind of fun is let's do rubato mono for this first piece. And let's do like some time. So 0, 1. Oh, yeah, let's do that. So 0, 1, and we're gonna use a colon, maybe like 22 colon 0, 1. We're just gonna do like a nice big time there. And let's bring this out a little bit. Now, it would be kind of cool. It's cool to use things that are similar families for typography with slight differences. So I'm going to make a really big number down here, and this might be like the miles or kilometers that we've run. So like maybe like 3.7. We'll make it really big. Okay, and I want some differentiation. So that's why I'm going to grab rubato and go down to mono, and we get this kind of like clock like look and feel. Let's take it off bold. Let's go down to regular, and we're just trying to add contrast between the two numbers, right? So let's go from bold all the way up to black. Look at that. That looks pretty sweet. Give it a little bit of space like this and drag that up like that. I'm liking it so far. I think we are going to mess with our background a little bit. So let's take our map and we're going to just grab our shape, right? Yeah, let's grab our shape. We're just going to move it up a little bit. So we're going to have a little bit less map going on. Let's grab our gradient and let's just move that up. There we go. So now we can kind of focus a little bit more on numbers down here and map up there. So I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Who's digging it? So let's just fade this out a little bit less. What I think is really important as just a designer tip or just a little bit of encouragement. As you're designing, feel free to make choices, keep cruising, and then come back and iterate. So like for me, when I'm designing, it's an iterative process, and I don't feel bad about it at all. I don't think you should either, but that's just me. Just want to give you a little bit of encouragement. So just explore stuff, okay? So why don't we zoom in on our artboard? Let's do a little Let's move this over just a little bit. We're going to bring another version of this, and let's do like kilometers, except that is massive. So let's bring it down. Again, we're always trying to find that little bit of contrast. So I think the size difference, like contrast here, is fine. So let's take both those, group them together, and use our alignment tools to make sure they're perfectly aligned. I think also maybe we could bring just the unit of distance down, okay? And then both of these we've grabbed both of these. Let's call these, what do we call these? Like meters or something. I don't know, something like meters might be confusing. So let's just call this numbers. There we go. That's pretty good. And then let's just move this up in there as well. So, all right, that looks pretty good. Now we have some controls. So like maybe some settings. Let's just make all of those white. I think that's nice. So while you're running, you might have the ability to like change the settings or add music or take a picture of yourself while you're running. Maybe you want to just do a quick selfie. You could do that. And we want to make sure we have space. So we're just going to move this up a little bit, and let's do like a nice big button to start and stop our run. Okay, so I'm going to hit E for ellipse, drag that open, and turn my border off. And let's pick a fun color, like maybe like a goldeny yellow color. What do we think about golden yellow? I'm digging it. So let's do that. And I'm going to zoom in nice and tight and do 2 rectangles to make a pause button. And what are we thinking today? We thinking rounded, or are we thinking square? I'm thinking rounded. Let's go rounded. We'll duplicate that, group it together, and we'll call this the pause button. Pretty good. And we're just going to use our alignment tools to make sure that's aligned. And we'll grab the button and everything like that, and we'll call this button. And while we're here, let's just press Command or Control K, make a component out of it, because we've learned how helpful components are. Later on, if I want to make a new component, I can change the color to it and all that good stuff. Okay, so this is all looking pretty good, but I think I also want to see like the I want to see the trail that we're running up here, like a live view. We're in the middle of running, right? So we should see that. Let's do E for an ellipse, and let's mark it right over, I don't know, where should we mark it? Maybe right in here. Start it in the neighborhood, maybe. We're going for a run. Now, that is kind of cool, but like we feel like it should stand out a little bit more, don't we? Don't we feel like that? So let's do this. Let's grab a duplicate of it. Let's fill it with our yellow and bring the transparency down. And then let's do a border nice and bright, just like this. So now we can mess with this. How transparent do we want to be? And I think what might actually be fun is, let's take our border and move a little bit more into the orange color. That could be fun. So we just see a little bit of variation happening there. So let's take these elements, group them together, and say location. So like maybe this is the current location where you're at, actually. So let's do that. And then let's take our pen tool and let's draw our trail that our user has run. Okay, so we're going to go this way, this way, this way, this way. It doesn't have to be super exact because we're just jamming things out here. And let's take our shape and we're going to choose a nice, that nice bright color that we've already selected. Let's take the size of the border up. We're going to choose to round the caps of these and also round the angles of these so it's nice and soft. I like that. That's pretty cool. And then let's just make sure by pressing Command or Control bracket that it's behind our location. So we'll call this run path and we'll group these together and we'll call this live path or something like that. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. I feel like that's pretty good. Like, what else do we really need? Maybe we can come back in here and play with the size of things, you know, like we can explore sizes. Because again, it's iterative. We should feel good about iterating as we go, just moving a few things around. Now, let's talk about just a little bit. Let's talk now about sharing for developers. And as I'm talking about my tips and my tricks on how I've learned to share things with developers, feel free to share yours in the chat. We want to talk about it. What big questions do you have about working with developers and engineers? What big questions do you have or problems you've run into? Let's chat. Let's do a little live Q&A as we're talking, okay? So the first thing that's awesome about Adobe XD, it's going to help with this process. Well, let's go back. The first thing we should do, like we've been doing, is naming our layers. So this is a nice layer stack. People are able to do this, or people are able to look at these layers and kind of get an idea what's what. So that's the first first tip. The second is let's use XD's abilities. Let's go over to share. And we did a little bit of this yesterday about sharing and creating links, but let's create a new link here. And we're gonna not go designer view, but let's go development. And we're gonna choose, what is this for? Obviously this is an iOS application, but if it was Android specific, you'd wanna choose that, okay? And then maybe we wanna require a password. We don't really, but we're gonna create a link. Now, XD is going to go about creating a link that has a development environment, and it's going to help a lot. Okay, this is going to cut down on a lot of the friction. So let's hit our link and let's preview our development environment. So what does XD provide for us when we choose development? Okay, first off, we see our work right there, and we're defaulted to the commenting field. Now, what I love to do is place pins, right? So you hit that little pin and I can choose what I want. And so maybe our developer can pin right there and say, you know, should this pulse animate? And I can't spell, so I definitely want to come back in here and spell these things correctly. S-H-O-U-L-D. Should this like pulse when and like make a little animations? That's nice. So we can kind of comment back and forth, which leads me to my first point. Communication is one of the biggest things that we can do as designers when we're handing off to developers. So you might think you communicate well, over communicate. You might think you document things well, over document it. Like just write things out. Even if like you want to come in here first and lay a bunch of comments on top of things so they don't have to email you or Slack you or write you and ask you a bunch of questions. I would just come in here as a designer and just comment on things. Now, the best thing to do is if this I had some animation or prototype to this, they'd be able to see those animations and prototypes in action. That's so much. So think of this, think of other people as more important than yourself, okay? Think of the developer's time as more important than your time. That's gonna cause you to be an excellent team member. So you're gonna create prototypes that are clear and simple and awesome. And then you're gonna communicate, you're gonna over communicate and leave comments here saying, can I do this? Is this gonna be like that? I imagine this would animate and feel like this. So you wanna over communicate, that's the first point. Number two, when we named all of our layers, our developers are now going to be able to come over into our spec mode, okay? And they're going to be able to see everything that is in our design. They're going to be able to click on certain elements and they're going to be able to measure. So now here's what spec mode brings up for you and me. The necessity for pixel perfect design. You and me as designers should have taken the time on this design, which we didn't because we're flying through to get to where we're at now. But you should take the time to really line things up perfect. And as you're building these things out, you want to start building out a system. How do things get spaced? How much space around icons do I need? Is there consistency within icons? A lot of people would lay out icons out on similar artboards or similar sizes. You're going to want to do things like that so that when you get here, things aren't inconsistent. So you want to lay things out because spec mode like this allows developers to grab things and see the different sizing. That's fantastic, but you want to make sure that you're giving them the appropriate thing. So later on, you don't pick up your phone when they show you a prototype of it and go, oh, that looks really weird. Everything's spaced wonky. Well, they're going to look at you and go, well, you kind of designed it and spaced it wonky. So we just did what you told us to do. So have some consistency and start creating a series of like documented reasons why you space things this way, put things this way, you know, lay out your flows a certain way. So that's a big one, communicate. This is great for developers to be able to click around on areas and work with things. If they click off the canvas, they're going to see the screen details. They're going to be able to see all of these assets. So they can grab multiple assets and they can download. Okay, so they can come down here to the bottom and say, I have 4 vector assets. Do I want to export them out as SVGs, PNGs, PDFs? What's great is making sure your developers know how to use XD in spec mode like this is huge. Some iOS engineers like to use PDFs, like for icons inside of their designs. Some like to use SVGs. It just kind of depends. Different companies and different engineering teams have different workflows, but this is going to give you the ability to, you know, facilitate all of those different workflows. Okay, so yeah, so let me see. Over communicating, Julia says her over communicating nature is going to be a bonus. It is going to be a bonus. These are a lot of what I'm talking about right now are soft skills for designers, not technical skill, but your ability to think about other people and be a self-starter, be a good communicator, write good emails, write good documentation. This is all part of it right here, okay? I love that they are able to grab all of these and they can literally just download and boom, they get a zip file of all of those assets right there. Now, also the colors, be consistent. Make sure you're picking the correct colors because they're all going to show up here, and our developers can now see it in either the hex form, the RGBA, or the HSLA forms, okay? And as they roll over them, they're going to get all of those different all of the different values for those. They can click on those, and this is going to be really helpful for them. They can click on it, go back over to Xcode or whatever platform they're developing in, and pop those values right in. It's amazing how simple it makes this. So your documentation is made a lot easier by this, but it doesn't relieve you and me of maybe some further documentation, depending on what your team needs. So let's keep cruising. Down here in the character styles, again, amazing. It's going to list all the character styles that are used. What I love is that you can also, it's back to that thing where you can click on individual elements and see the different text, change the measurements from pixels to points to DPs and all of that stuff. Okay, so really awesome tool that we have here, but I just want to really overemphasize it doesn't alleviate you and me as the designer from over communicating and overemphasizing the things that are important to us. What's really cool is if we go back to XD, let's do this and go back to design, and we maybe create like, before we do this, let's come into our button and let's choose a triangle. Let's draw a triangle into this bad boy because I also want to see the, I really want everybody to see the animation specs that are inside here. So let's do this. Let's bring the opacity of it down and we'll just lower it there. Okay, let's drag another version of our artboard over. Okay. And when we're over here, we're going to grab our pause button. And we're going to roll that up or just move that up, take the opacity down. We're going to take our polygon, bring the opacity up. This is our play button. Okay, like this. And then maybe while we're here, we'll just do something to show that we're paused. Like we'll turn this to like a neutral color. Okay. Now we're going to prototype. Ooh, excuse me. I was selecting things when I should have been zooming. We're going to prototype. We're going to choose our button. And we're going to move over here. We want to auto animate on tap over here and on tap back the other way. Now we should be able to see just a little tiny animation. Okay. Now we can come back into share. Okay. We can update this link. It's going to update all the work that we just did. Now there's multiple screens for our developers to look at, and hopefully we'll also be able to see, we'll also be able to see that animation that's happening. So let's go back. Let's refresh our page. Okay, very cool. Now our developers are going to get some sort of instructions at the bottom on how to go back and forth. So we can click on elements. Let's click off here. Let's go back over here. We should be able to prototype between the two, okay? Now let's go back to our specs. We can also see interactions have shown up, right? So we can click on our elements. Here's the interaction. It's telling the developer that on tap, it's going to trigger auto animate and which artboards it's going back and forth to. So that's nice. We're giving them as much information as possible. And those are my tips. If anybody else has any questions, totally willing to answer those in my experience handing things off. But I will say the more information you can provide, the absolute better. Let's go over while we're here and just check a little bit while you guys are asking questions inside of the live chat. And then while we're doing that, I'm just going to be looking at some different work. So here is, people have been posting inside Behance using the XD Daily Challenge, and this piece of work is from Mihailo Angelic, which I feel like I murdered your name, but I super love the work. So let's check this out. Let's get in here and check it out. This is one of our like fitness or tracking challenges that we did one day. Diego asks, is there going to be an option to download images as JPEG? Maybe the XD team is working on that, but especially, I think probably like that would work out for web, but a lot of times for mobile applications, JPEGs for icons and things like that, it's a bad idea, but it might be on the way. It might be on the way for like things like web, but I'm really digging this design. I like it. It's simple. It's clear. The colors, they all match up. So that's a really, really nice one. Let's try to do a little bit more. Here's an activity tracker that was posted by Sanjay Chella. And this is the day 1 challenge. Got a little activity tracking. Very nice. I really like the layout of this as well. Just really clear. The colors, you got to be careful of colors like pink. They can feel a little bit overwhelming, but really nicely done here. They're used, I think, wisely. Really, really nice. And then the presentation is good. This case study, seeing multiple screens. And then, yeah, I love that. I'm just going to appreciate this really quick because I do appreciate that work. It's nice. All right. What else do we got? Maybe we got time for one more and we're almost out of here. Here's another one of the trackers from day one. I like this. It has like, I like that background is not just a black, but it's kind of like a deep blue. It's interesting. It's unique. And so lots of good work here. Make sure you're posting your work up there as well. And we are pretty much coming to a close here. This is the end of this episode of the XD Daily Creative Challenge, and this is the last time for me. You guys won't see me for a little bit. I will be coming back soon, I think, but I've had a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. Just for all your chat, your support, your encouragement, and for joining us along each day in the XD Daily Creative Challenge. Stay tuned. There's lots of amazing live streams happening with Adobe, like each and every day. There's more streams happening right after this, so stick around. And also, if you're interested, jump in the Discord chat. I'm going to be there. Oh, listen to that. Dave says, I'm going to miss you, Jesse. I'm going to miss you too, Dave. I'm going to miss all of you guys, but hopefully I'll be back soon. I really enjoyed, again, my time with you guys, but stick around for more live streams. Jump in the Discord. Love to chat with you guys there. I'll see you in the next one. And in the meantime, make your developer's life easy. Over communicate. See you then.